Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Robin's Nest. Before we get started, wanted to send thoughts and prayers to Marlene Sexton's family. Marlene of Sexton Properties. She was a longtime supporter, sponsor, and friend of the AJ Foyt team and family. So, yeah, I know it must be a tough situation what they're going through. You know, I hear people have told me that, you know, when someone elderly passes away, well, we shouldn't be sad because, you know, they've lived a full life and so on and so forth. Well, I can attest to the fact that that doesn't really matter. It still sucks a lot. So, you know, I can feel, you know, I know what they're going through. Let's put it that way. And it's not good. It's not fun. And so, thoughts and prayers to them. And okay, so before we get into what I want to talk about today, similar to yesterday, I'm sure you can hear it in the background. That is rain. That is thunder. I don't know what is going on in Alabama, but I mean, if it keeps going this route, we're gonna have to be, you know, getting around in boats or swimming. I mean, I don't know why, but it's been every single day for like the past, I don't know, couple weeks. Just rain every day. There's a lake at the end of my driveway, a full-blown lake. Like when we drive our car out of the yard, it wants to bite because it's like sucking water up in the engine and everything. God, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. There's a repair shop about a quarter of a mile down the street from us, and I'm trying to take my S10 over there. The S10 will only run for 60 seconds before it starts running like crap again. And so the plan is to drive it down the hill at the end of the driveway, let it sit, and unflood itself basically, and then fire it back up and drive it across the street. But since the lake is down there at the end of the driveway, we can't do that because by the time we get to the bottom of the hill, it's not going to run. We're going to get stuck in the lake. It's a nightmare. So I apologize for the background noise. I have a metal roof, so it's going to be there. Nothing I can really do about that. But yeah, I want to get into some things with NASCAR. We've had some interesting news over the past 24 hours, and some stupid stuff going on, really. If you enjoy listening to me ramble about motorsports, cars, stuff like that, make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, turn on notifications. If you're interested in diecast cars, t-shirts, hats, racing memorabilia, auto parts, any of that kind of stuff, check out our eBay. The link is in the description. 15% store-wide sale for the foreseeable future. So make sure to check that out. Without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so NASCAR was in Mexico. We all know this. The race was all right. Interesting thing that happened though was Carson Hocevar was, I think he was on Twitch, a Twitch stream or something, and he was being interviewed about the whole experience of being in Mexico. And he said some interesting things, you know, about the town not being safe. You know, the track not being that great, the rules not being enforced, you know, while they're on track. In regards to corner cutting and stuff like that, track limits. All of which, everything that he said is true. Now, should he have used some different language? Probably. But at the end of the day, though, the points that he was making, all true. Okay, you just start straight off the top with the course cutting. NASCAR was not enforcing essentially any track limit rules. I think in the S's, which is like the least, like the last place that they should have been focused on, because everywhere else on the track was the actual problem, not the S's. Okay, but Carson was, you know, he's talking about the safety outside the venue. Now, those guys had military escorts to and from the track all weekend. They had military escorts from the border to the racetrack. That alone on its face should tell you something. Okay? It's not racist to say that an area is not safe. Now, I know in America we have crime. Obviously. You're going to have crime anywhere. That's just a product of living in a fallen world. That's fine. That's whatever. We understand that. But you are allowed to notice that. You know, Colton Herta, I think his spotter or his crew chief was shot at in St. Louis, I think last year. Colton, he said some disparaging things about St. Louis. To my knowledge, there was no fine. Now, I could be wrong, but to my knowledge, there's no fine. There's no uproar. There's no cries of racism or anything like that. What's the difference? Mexico has a crime problem. Why is everyone trying to leave Mexico and come to the United States? Why? Is it just for money? If you listen to what everyone says on the cable news networks, it's because they're leaving a bad situation and they're trying to get in a better situation. They're leaving an unsafe place and trying to come to a safer place. That's literally what they say, almost verbatim. I know this because I listen to it every day. Okay, that's what they try to shove down our throats, is that they are in a bad situation. I'm going to get in a better situation, not just monetarily. We're talking about safety, the works. So why is it wrong for someone to say something about that? We all know why. The NASCAR leadership, the Steves, Jim France, Ben Kennedy, they are far to the left, ideologically, politically, whatever you want to call it. They are way out there. They proved that in 2020. Okay, the whole news thing with Bubba, I will give Bubba a little bit of credit on this. NASCAR orchestrated that whole thing, and that's not a secret. Like Bubba's come out and said that Steve Phelps is the one that called him and told him about the news, and that he was crying and all that kind of stuff. We told him. They orchestrated that. They orchestrated the whole spiel about pushing the car down pit road. They flew LGBT flags at every racetrack. They make LGBT posts every June or whatever the LGBT month is. And I'm not saying, however you feel about that stuff is whatever. Like that, I have no opinion on that. My point is that NASCAR has continued to shove PC culture down our throats, and this is just another example. Someone was getting mad at me earlier for talking about this, and they're like, "Well, you can't take up for Carson and what he said." Yeah, you can. You can. Like I said, I'm not taking up for him using, some language that he probably shouldn't have used. He didn't use any kind of racist term. He was just, he called Mexico a you-know-what hole. Or Mexico City, that. And, yeah, like I said, that probably shouldn't have said that. Probably should have used a different word. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with saying that. Is that a $50,000 offense? I don't think so. Is anything else he said a $50,000 offense? Absolutely not. Everyone's been on my case. Well, Spire's the one that did it. NASCAR didn't do it. If you read Spire's statement that they released, I think it was this morning, towards the end of the statement, it says that they consulted with NASCAR and made sure that the penalty that they levied toward Carson was sufficient to appease NASCAR. So yeah, NASCAR twisted their arm and made them do it. And the reason is because they didn't want their name attached to it. Because the last time they got in the business of finding drivers for what they said, there was a massive pushback. This Denny Hamlin was penalized for saying, I think it was the Gen 6 car, where he said something that wasn't, they didn't like what he said about the car on camera. And so they fined him like $50,000. Brad Keselowski had a secret fine. They tried to lie about it or just hide it, not tell anybody about it. Okay, and so, why are we in the business of policing what these guys say, And before anyone tries to argue with me on this, I made a video about a month ago, I guess. WRC was in the middle of a, excuse my language, but a pissing contest with the FIA. over the use of cuss words when they would finish a stage. One of the guys, I don't remember which one it was fined something like $20,000 or $30,000 for using a cuss word, because at the end of the rally stages, they're immediately interviewed. And so he said something, I think it was Adrian Formo. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure that's who it was. Anyways, so I made a video about it because my view on that was you shouldn't be saying that kind of you shouldn't be saying that kind of language on TV anyways, because there's families and kids that watch that, and the amount of blowback I got was massive. Like, no one agreed with me on that. Everyone said these guys should be allowed to say whatever they want to. Okay, well, if you feel that way in one area, you can't feel the opposite in a different. Okay? And I know that most of those people, I mean, it was everyone. So there were people who were sitting here with a straight face saying that Carson shouldn't have said what he said, he should have been penalized, who advocated for the guys in WRC to be able to say whatever they wanted to. I mean, you can't have your cake and eat it too. It's got to be one or the other. You know, it's crazy to me. And now Tab Boyd, Ricky Stenhouse's spotter, he made a post over the weekend about how dangerous it was there, and he insinuated that he had been robbed. Yeah, who knows if that's true or not, but it doesn't matter. You know, and now his social media is all gone, and there was a rumor that started circulating earlier that he'd been fired. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's the rumor. And he didn't say, there was no vulgar language. There was nothing racist in what he said. You know, he just said that, you know, places, they can hype it up all they want, so on and so forth. I'll put the image up here so you can see what he actually said. But, you know, these guys, so NASCAR wants everyone to go to Mexico and completely lie on social media, on TV, and say that it's this great and wonderful place. And that's another thing too, I don't know if y'all have noticed, but on social media, on X, and so on, all the journalists who were in NASCAR and associated with NASCAR, cover NASCAR, who were in Mexico, all the pictures they were showing, like, it looked like an oasis. You know, I had a guy tell me this morning, he was like, man, it's crazy. You hear these comments from like Carson and from Tab, and then you look at these pictures from these journalists, and it's like, these are not even, what are they talking about? That's not a dangerous place. That's a beautiful place. Well, yeah, the journalists are propagandists. I mean, let's be real about this. That's their job. Okay? Find me one journalist that's associated with NASCAR, that covers NASCAR, even in the slightest, that ever scrutinizes NASCAR. Just one. I'd love to hear it. I don't think they exist. You know, every single one that I've seen will make excuses, will take up for NASCAR, everything under the sun to make NASCAR look like, I don't know, like the shining city on the hill, you know? Like they never make a mistake, they don't do anything wrong. You used to hear a couple of years ago, and this is like a recent phenomenon, okay? Because it used to not be this way. And I'm talking prior to COVID, so not super long ago. I remember reading guys complaining about the playoffs all the time. Now, you never hear anybody, any journalist, talk bad about the playoffs. It's like when everyone was complaining, all the fans were complaining about Joey Logano winning the playoffs last year because he was like a 15th place in the regular season or something like that. And everyone was complaining about it. Well, NASCAR comes out and they're like, well, we'll fix the problem. Their solution to the problem is not an actual solution to the problem. They're just changing the venue, you know, going from Phoenix to Homestead. What that's supposed to fix, I don't know, because the fundamental problem's still there. Anyways, that's a sidebar, but there's not one journalist that I read, anyways. There could be one out there, but I didn't see it. There's not one journalist that said, hey, what are we doing here? 90% of your fan base, if not more than that, is complaining about the playoffs. Yet you guys just continue to double down on it. Why? Why? Why was no journalist saying that or asking that question? I mean, if you get on X, most people hate the playoffs. Yet you never hear about that from any of the media outlets. So my point being is when they were in Mexico and they were taking all these pictures and making it look like a flipping oasis, well, that's their job to do that. Okay? I don't even say that it's propaganda. It's just, that's their job. And before anyone starts chastising me and telling me, well, you are just racist and you're this and that, yada, yada, yada. I want to read something to you, okay, that lends some credence to the point that Carson and Tab both were making. And the point that I'm trying to make, okay, this is from the State Department. This is on their official website. You can go to their website and you can check this out. So, for Mexico State and Mexico City specifically, this is a travel advisory for any American citizen who's interested in going to Mexico City. Exercise increased caution due to crime, both violent, non-violent crime, both violent and non-violent crime occur throughout Mexico City. Use additional caution, particularly at night, outside of frequented tourist areas where police and security patrol more routinely. Petty crime occurs frequently in both tourist and non-tourist areas. U.S. citizens have been and are prone to kidnapping. That's from the State Department. And before you say that we can't trust the State Department because of Donald Trump or whatever, that was put out in 2024 when Biden was president. It's just remained in place. So, what does that tell you? What does that tell you? I think moving forward with this channel, we're just going to focus. If we talk about NASCAR, we're going to talk about retro NASCAR. Now, see, to this day, if we're talking NASCAR from like 2005, maybe 2006 and prior, man, I'm all about some of NASCAR from back then because it was awesome. I could sit here right now and I've already seen all of them like a million times, but I could watch any random race from 2005, 2004 and get just as much enjoyment out of that as watching any form of motorsport nowadays. Okay. It was just better. Everything was better. The series was more healthy. The field was deeper in all three categories. The cars were far and away better than what they are now. Drivers were more interesting than the ones that we have now. The drivers that we have now, the vast majority of them, not all of them, but most of them are just vanilla and boring. They're a bunch of rich kids. And then you have the ones that come along who are kind of interesting and have a personality, and then we find the hell out of them to make them get in line and be vanilla and boring. Love Carson or hate him, he's one of the most entertaining characters that's come along in a while. And they're gonna neuter him just like they did with Ross. When Ross came in, he was brash, he was elbows out, took no crap from anyone. And then Hendrick and NASCAR, which no offense to Rick, but they neutered him. I mean, and you notice about the time that all that stuff happened at Darlington with he and Kyle Larson, it was kind of like the climax of the run-ins that he was having with Kyle. If you notice from that moment moving forward, Trackhouse has not really been the same. Yes, they've won a race here and there, but they've been very, very inconsistent. They'll show up for a month and run like garbage and then randomly win a race. There could be something to it with all the stuff that happened back then. I know there is, because whenever drivers come in and they're driving they're themselves, and they've got a certain style and a certain way that they do things. Whenever you try to change that, it never works out. Look, Kevin Harvick, prime example. When he came in 2001, Bobby Hamilton actually said that Kevin was trying to be Dale Earnhardt, but he wouldn't make a scab on Dale Earnhardt's butt right now. That was at Martinsville, 2001, when Bobby was trying to take the lead from Kevin, bumped into Kevin, knocked him out of the way. They went into the next corner, and Kevin dumped Bobby, and so they had a big fallout. But back in those days, like, Kevin was wild, man. He was crazy. And he kind of did drive like he was trying to be Dale Earnhardt. That's kind of the vibe that you got from it. And then 2002, when he and Coy got into it at Martinsville in the truck race, and NASCAR parked him, and then they proceeded to suspend him for the rest of the weekend. Kenny Wallace drove his Cup car that weekend. When that happened, moving forward until, like, I think 2000, like about midway through 03, he ran like garbage. Absolute garbage. Now, he said on his podcast that it's because of some internal stuff that was going on with the team, and that may be true, I don't know, but it just kind of coincided with, him getting in trouble and getting suspended. And I'm sure after that happened, Childress had to sit down with him and told him, you got to cut the crap out, the antics, because, that dude would get out of the car and straight up call NASCAR out on camera, like, to their faces. And that's what I'm talking about, too, is that kind of stuff it used to be tolerated to a certain point and allowed. But now you can't. You can't have a dissenting opinion, voice, nothing. You have to fall in line. You have to be cookie cutter. You have to be boring and benign. And it's aggravating, to put it mildly. Also, I want to talk about this. Why is it that motorsports is like the last sports venue series, whatever you want to call it, that doesn't separate women from the men? Why is that? You can call me sexist all you want. It's nothing to do with that. It's the fact that I would love to see women be successful in motorsports. Not Ashley, but Brittany Force, and Ashley too, but John Force's daughters, really, really good in drag racing. But that's essentially it. You had the woman in rally back in the day, but other than here and there, for the most part, it just doesn't happen. And I saw an interview with Abby Eaton, who's a race car driver. She was the test driver for the Grand Tour TV show with Jeremy Clarkson and Richard Hammond and James May. And she was asked in the interview, why is it that women don't perform better against men? And she said straight up that it is it's a physical thing. It's a biological thing. Men are just inherently they have more muscle mass and so on and so forth than your average woman does, and that's just a fact. I mean, it's just a fact, and that's not saying anything bad about women. I love women, to be clear. So I've got no issue there. But my point is I would love to see women be successful. Now, you've got like football, soccer, whatever. It's split up. You have the women's league, you have the men's league. Same thing with basketball. Same thing with baseball and softball. So on and so forth. Volleyball, same thing. Why are we still continuing to try and make this happen in motorsports? Why? I think that honestly we should have, and the reason I bring this up is because Abby Pulling, who won the Formula One Academy Championship last year, is testing with the Formula E team, and I'm assuming at some point she's going to get a shot with them in a race. That's great, and like I said, I have no problem with that, on face value, but I think we should have, honestly, women's leagues separate from men that go just as high as men. No different than, like I said about soccer, with the women's league and the men's league. They run parallel to one another, but they don't cross over. It should be a similar thing in motorsports. I hate seeing all these women come through who have potential, but they end up washing out because they can't compete with the men. And feminists are gonna get pissed off at me for saying that, and I don't mean it in a derogatory way. It's just the numbers don't lie, you know. I think with drag racing it's a little bit different because you're going in a straight line. I mean, I understand there's a physical aspect to it. Obviously, the amount of G forces that you're pulling off the line is just idiotic. I get that, but it's still a little different than going out there on a track and turning 200 laps and racing for hours on end. It's different. It just is. It just is. And I would love to see they're doing the right thing with the F1 Academy. But they with Formula One, with NASCAR, with maybe with Rally, they should have. It should be separated. Women should have their own thing, man. And I think it would be popular if they did something like that. I would certainly watch it. But no, my point is, I'm all for women being able to do the same things that men can do. But the numbers do not lie. This has been tried and tried over and over and over again, and it's just not working. So why do we keep trying to force it? Let's just create another division for women. Let's put it on the same level as, whatever the male equivalent is. Let's give it the same kind of prestige. Let's put the same kind of money into it, because that's the thing about the NBA and the WNBA is I can't, a lot of those women, they complain a lot about the money and all that. Okay, whatever. My thing is that the amount of money that's put into the WNBA is not the same kind of money that's put into the NBA. I know what the reasons are for that. I'm not really going to get into it, but on face value, that's what's going on. So, if we had a racing series that was equivalent, and you invested the same kind of resources, it could easily be on par with. I'll tell you this: with soccer, I would rather watch women's soccer than watch male soccer. Just to be completely fair with you, it's more entertaining. Those girls get after it. The guys are a bunch of pansies. They'll get kicked in the shin and then fall on the ground, rolling around, holding their head. Nonsense. Okay, I'm sure some of that happens with the women too, but it's less so. Okay, it's just better. It's better than the male version. Sue me. And yes, I do like soccer, which is strange, because no one in my family likes soccer that I'm aware of. My close family, I don't know about my extended family, but my close family, I don't think anyone really cares for soccer. I know certainly when I was growing up, it was never really a thing in my household, but I actually enjoy it now. Like the Premier League, if I can spit it out, it's got it's male, but it's fun to watch, minus all the idiotic fake injuries. But anyways, my point is NASCAR needs to stop silencing their drivers. They need to stop pushing this PC culture on everybody. It's nonsense. If you don't like what someone says, well, you know what? Get over it. Neither one of those guys were being racist. Neither one of them were. Like I said, Carson should have used different language. He shouldn't have cussed. He shouldn't have called it a hole. I agree with that. But everything else, it's whatever. It's his opinion. There shouldn't be. That's not a $50,000 opinion. Or at least it shouldn't be. It's nonsense. And Tab, his opinion shouldn't have been, it's going to cost you your job. Nonsense. Anyways, that's what I want to touch on today. I want to rant and rave about that. I was hot and bothered last night when I saw that. It was just nonsense. It was like a replay going straight back to 2020. All over again. So, like I said, we're going to talk old NASCAR moving forward, man. That's my bread and butter anyways. I watch the new stuff, but I'm not into it. And so I just kind of watch it so I have something to talk about with kids and stuff. So, but we'll just sit around and watch old races from like 2002. You know, shoot, why not? Anyways, if y'all enjoyed listening to me ramble, make sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, leave a comment, share this video, the works. Like I've said the past couple of days, we're in YouTube jail right now, so our reach is like non-existent due to a copyright claim on a video we posted back when we started, before we knew what we were doing. So our reach is literally non-existent. We've had like 40 people max watch our videos over the past few days, which is crazy. So no one's seeing them. If you don't mind sharing, getting the word out there, and we'll get through it. It's not a big deal. So if you're interested in diecast, t-shirts, hats, racing memorabilia, anything like that, check out our eBay. Link is in the description. 15% sale on everything store-wide, site-wide, whatever you want to call it, for the foreseeable future. I don't know what that means, foreseeable future. Maybe another month. It's not really that far out, but maybe another month. I don't know, maybe going longer than that. As you can see, we've got a bunch of crap that we need to get rid of. Not crap, a bunch of stuff. A bunch of stuff that we need to get rid of. All this stuff is on our eBay. Well, most of it is. I'm in the process still posting. We have over 1,000 listings, and we post new stuff every day. So we have this. I'm sitting in a trailer currently, an office trailer, that's full of crap. You can't see it behind the camera. And then we have 2 buses on our property that's full of stuff. One bus is full of auto parts. The other one's full of just random crap and random stuff. I gotta stop saying crap. It's not crap. It's beautiful, hard to find, interesting items. That's what I would call it. Anyways, check that out. Thank you guys for watching. Love you. Till next time. Peace. See ya.
És 100 fölfele. 100 fölfele, jobb 2 tempó, 20-ra bal 2 tempó, 20-ra bal 2 tempó, 25-re bal 2 szűk, bal 2 szűk, és bal 2, majd 50-re jobb 2, mint a bal 2, és 50-re jobb 2, majd szűk 50-re jobb 3 az aszfaltra. Szűk 50-re jobb 3 az aszfaltra.